Hello everyone, I'm Sharanya PS, Assistant Professor Department of ISC, HAIET, Mangalore. In this video lecture, I will be discussing one of the lab program of the lab C Programming Laboratory. The program discussed here is write functions to implement string operations such as compare, concatenate, string length, convince the parameter passing technique. The program is a 10th program in your lab manual. Here, the main objective of this given question is we have to write a program in C language which will implement the basic string operations like compare, concatenating and finding the length. And this program needs to be written in such a way that it needs to make use of a functions along with the parameters. These are the main concept what we have to implement by referring this question. And in the previous video lecture when I discussed about the strings, we have already discussed all these concepts, that is comparison of a string and concatenation of a string and finding the length. These string functions can be performed in two ways. One, by using the strings built-in function which is defined in the string.h header file, where it defines some of the functions like strcmp compare, strconcat and strlen. These are the built-in functions which can be used to perform all these operations in a very direct manner. And along with that, I also discussed about the set of code or the function what we can write or the program how we can write to perform all these operations without using the string functions. This is what we are dealing in this particular program. That is, we are implementing comparison, concatenation and finding the length without using string built-in function. Now, if you look into in detail this question, there is one restriction that they have given is you should not use any built-in function which is defined in the string.h header file. And we have to implement the operations like compare, concatenate and length. You can extend this program to perform string copy operation or any other string operations, string manipulation functions. Now we'll see what is the logic that we have discussed to obtain the length of the string. These are all the topics which I have already discussed in the previous video lecture. This is act as just a recall session, and we will see almost similar logic what we have discussed. But one major difference here is we are discussing all these along with the function concept. So, first thing, how we can obtain the length of the string. As we know, string is a set of characters which is enclosed in a single quotes, and along with that the last character we specify as a null character which indicates it as a string. In simple terms, string is also called as a character array which is ended with a null character. Now, when we refer to find the length of the string, we have to determine here is we have to check how many characters are present in the given word or given string. So, first thing here is we have to read the string. Then, we have to create the function and pass the string within it. Next, find the string length by counting the number of characters in it. That is, the logic here what we are following is, we know that when the string content is null, that indicates that we have reached to the end of the string. So, here we need to find the length of the string. Nothing but we have to count the number of characters. What we can do? We have to start from the beginning and we have to keep processing with the looping statement till we reach this null character. Count is the variable which is used to keep track of the length of the string. Here, the count is initially set with the value 0, and whenever it processes a single character, this count value will be keep incrementing each time. And this loop need to be processed or executed till it finds the null character, and increase the length each time when it come across with a character. And when the null is found, it need to return the final count value. This is what the logic is used to find the length of the string. Now we'll see how we can perform the comparison of two strings. That is nothing but the comparison can be performed either with the length of the string or even with the characters. When we refer with the comparison, here first we need to read two strings and obtain the length of the strings. If suppose the length of the two strings is not equal, then we can return the strings are mismatched. Obviously, most of the time, if the length of the string is not equal, the string will definitely be, content will definitely be not equal. Otherwise, the compare character by character of both strings. Here with this particular program, comparison of two strings, it is evaluated for two different cases. One is with respect to length of the string, it checks whether the strings are equal. Other case is with respect to the content of the strings, that is nothing but character by character, it checks with the comparison and then it says whether the strings are equal or not. So here it performs first with length. Length of the two string is not equal, then it need to return the mismatch. Otherwise, it need to go for checking with the character by character of both string. If characters do not match, then it need to return it as a mismatch. Otherwise, it need to return the final result as strings are matched. This is how the comparison of two strings are done. This is the logic what it uses. We'll see with the code later. Next, the function that is asked to implement is concatenation of two strings. What is this concatenation? Concatenation is nothing but appending two strings together or combining two strings together. If there is one string and the second string, these two need to be added together and the final string need to be displayed as an output. Here, first we have to read two strings and we have to copy character by character from the first string to the resulting string. And this is done with respect to first string. Then we have to go through with the each character present in the second string and it also need to be copied into the resulting string. So the major two-step process is done. That is copying the first string's content to the resultant string, and after that the second string's content is also need to be copied onto the resulting string. And finally, append the resulting strings variable with a /0, which indicates that the resulting string has ended. This is what the final appended string. That's why it is mandatory to attach this /0 at the end of the string. Otherwise, it may end up with displaying some garbage values. And finally, need to display the string. Now we'll try to write the code to perform all these three major functions. That is finding the length of the string and then comparison of the string and concatenation of the strings. We have already discussed all the logic behind these three functions, but now once again we will discuss these concepts just in brief. Here we have to write the main function. Inside the main, we have to call three different functions. Let us write three separate functions which will perform find length and finding comparison, and one more finding the or appending the string or concatenating the string. So inside the main, we should first declare the string. I will refer string 1 and string 2 as two strings. And then I am using two variables length 1 and length 2 to store the length of the first string and second string respectively. Since this length is an integer value, I have declared it as an int. Next, enter the first string. It is asking for the user to enter the string. Now, with the scanf, we have discussed %yes we will be taking, and then we are not using any ampersand. Just we are using string name as a second argument. That is %s is a format specifier used for string, and string 1 refers to the first string. Instead of this scanf, we can also write getS with str1. That is how we can write is getS. This is a function which is used to read the string from the keyboard, getS, and for that we are passing the string name, that is nothing but here str1. What is the benefit of this? Here we can read the strings, two different strings with spaces between, that is tab space or any space if it is also provided, that string also can be considered. That is the benefit of by using getS function. Whereas in the scanf, we can only read a single word strings. Next, moving, it is optional. Either we can replace the scanf with getS or we can read just with the scanf statement. Next, enter the second string and we are reading with the scanf statement, and here we are computing the length. That is, which length we have to find. String 1's length I have to find, and here this length is nothing but a function. length is a function. This is what we are calling the function from the main. Length, this function is defined by passing the argument, that is str1. What is this? str1 will contain whichever the string that is entered by the user. And what it returns, this function, it returns the length 1. We'll see what is the function definition later. Next, with the next statement, once again the same length function is called, but now the argument passed is string 2, or the parameter passed is string 2. See, here you could observe clearly what is the benefit of using the function. Suppose if the function is not used, then the same set of code which is used for performing the length or finding the length code will be repeated twice, because first time it is written for the string 1 and same code is repeated once again by referring with the string 2. So this is how we can replace those repetition of code by using the function that we have achieved just by calling the function here with the passing second string as a parameter. So it will return the length of the string whichever I have passed. Next, we are displaying the length of the string, first string, and the second string's length is displayed. Next function that we are referring here to compare two strings is compare string 1, string 2. And then the function one more which is used to concatenate is concatenate, and here also we are passing two parameters. One is string 1 and string 2. Here, what is the requirement of two strings? Because we are comparing. That is, comparison is done with respect to two strings. First string is compared with the second string. So we want two parameters that here we are represented like this. And even with the concatenation, we are concatenating string 1 and string 2, and the result is stored back in string 1. Next, finally, we are closing this main. Now we will see one by one functions, that is length, compare and concatenate. First, moving to the length function. Here we have started with the header file, since we are writing the functions first and then we are going for the main. Here the length is a function name and we have used integer because this function returns the value. The returns value data type is integer. That's why this data type is int. And it takes string as a parameter. That is, as we observed initially, the string name we have referred as string 1 and string 2. Here, string 1 acts as a actual parameter, and it is not compulsion that I have to refer with the same string name when I defined it when I am defining the function. So here s act as a formal parameter. Whatever it is written as a mentioned as a string 1, that value will be passed to this es. Now coming to this, here one new variable called as count is initialized with value 0, and one more variable I is used to process with the loop. Now what is the main concept here? That is, logic used here is we have to start with the index of I, and we have to keep checking with each processing through each characters present in the string till it reaches to the null. And when it processes through each character, it has to increment this count value. That is, it need to come inside this for loop and it need to increment the count value each time, and then I value is getting incremented, and then once again it checks the condition. If its condition is true, then once again count value is getting incremented. This is the process what it keep iterating till the it reaches to the termination. That is nothing but null character in the string. So finally, when it reaches to the null character, it is returning the count value to the main function from the point where this length function is called. Now moving to the one example here, CPS is the string that we are referring and which is ended with the null character. And as we know, index in the string is started with the 0, 1, 2, 3. So what is the final length of the string? As we count here, it is 3. So that is what we need to compute with the program code. Here we have started with the string as yes, and then I is initially set with 0. In for loop, it is checking whether yes of 0 is not equal to none. Yes, condition is true. It comes in inside that, and count value will be getting 1, and then I is getting incremented. In same way, when I value with the 1, it is going to be inside the for loop, and count is getting set to 2, and I plus plus is getting executed. Same way, how long it will execute? Till the I value become 2, and yes of 2 is now checked, and it is also true. When I value is equivalent to 3, yes of 3 is not equal to null. Is it the condition is true? No. This is the string that I am referring. Here s of 3 is nothing but null. This state it has reached now. So the condition s of 3 is not equal to null become false. Now it comes out of the for loop. So how many times this loop has executed? That is nothing but 3 times. That is what we are referring with the total number of characters. that is obtained by going through or processing through this count variable. This is how we can find the number of characters present in a given string. So finally, it returns the count value to the main function. Next is a comparison. So simple, this length is used to, function is used to determine the total number of characters in the string till it encounter none. So next, moving to the comparison function. Here it takes two arguments. One is string 1 and string 2. So here these both are of a data type character, and since it is comparison, it does not return anything. That's why return type is mentioned with void. And here one more thing, here we have referred with the same string name, string 1 and string 2. It is not necessary that I have to use string 1 and string 2. As we discussed, we can use any of the formal parameters, that I can use S1 and S2. Anything can be used, but only one condition is it need to be declared in the and called with the same two arguments in the function call from the main. Now coming to one special thing that we are using is, here we are coming across one variable called as flag, and this flag is of a data type integer. What is this flag? Which is normally used in a C language to tell to the program that it has certain condition has been reached. It is giving like a signal to the program, to the compiler, that some condition has been reached. Normally these flags are a Boolean variable which indicates that whether the condition is true or false. Let us make use of this flag in this particular function. This flag initially we have set with the value 1. Now the comparison, as we discussed, first we will check whether the length of the strings are equal. If the length is not equal, then it goes with finding if the length is not equal, then it automatically says that the strings are not equal. Suppose if the length are equal, then it goes for checking character by character. If all the characters gets matched, then we say that the strings are equal. This is what the process it is done under compare function. First, with the if condition, length. What is this length? This is the function which is already defined by us, built-in function, and we are passing string 1. So we are calling the function length in the if condition, and we are checking whatever the value it is written. It is normally integer value. Say for example, it may be 5, the length of the string, and it checks whether not equal to length of string 2, which might be 2, 4. So whether 5 is not equal to 4, yes, condition is not equal, condition is true. So this flag value is going to be changed to 0. Initially it was 1, now it changed to 0. And it at the end we are checking one condition, that is, if flag is equivalent to 1, then what it says, the strings are equal. In this case, what is the flag value? It is nothing but 0. So what is the statement? It is going to be matched. Else case, that is, strings are not equal. If the length of the strings are not equal, then it directly prints as the strings are not equal. Suppose if the length of the strings are matching, then it moves on processing with the character by character matching. That is, we'll proceed with the code which is used for checking with the character, that is written in the else part. Here, first with the I value starting with the 0, and I have to proceed it with processed with each character present in the string 1 till it reaches to the null. And inside that for loop, I have to keep processing with checking condition, that is, whether string 1's content. That is, we can refer to the string's content by using the index value. That is, I am referring through I loop, I for loop. So str of 1 of I is not equal to str2 of I. That is, we are just comparing two strings with respect to the index elements. I'm checking first element with the second string's first element. So this way each characters are going to be compared. If it is not equal, then once again we are setting the flag equal to 0. This is the false case. That what it indicates the strings are not equal. It is going to be printed. Suppose if that after that, in case if it found that any character is not matching to any other character, in such case what it set the flag to 0 and it is going to terminate this for loop. What is the usage of this break? Break is going to terminate the loop. That is, which loop is currently executing. That is, for loop is going to terminate and it comes out of that. And next, this is how it will keep checking. If it finds any one character which is not matching, it will completely terminate and it will come out of the for loop and it will proceed with the next step. What is the next step here? Here it checks what is the value of the flag, whether the flag is equivalent to 1. If that is the case, strings are equal. That is, initially, if either to say that the strings are not equal, either the length of the string should not match or the character present in the strings should not match. If it is not of these two cases, then obviously we can say that the strings are equal. That is what we are doing in this logic. First, we have set the flag equal to 1. So, it indirectly says that it is a true case. And here it checks whether the length of the strings are equal. If it is not equal, we are setting the flag to 0. And if the lengths are equal, then only it moves to the else part. That is, it is going to check character by character. If all the characters are equal, then this flag which was set initially, it will be as it is with value equal to 1. So it prints finally as strings are equal. If any one character it found as a mismatch, in such case it is going to set the flag equal to 0 and it is not necessary to process with the rest of the character. That's why I have used here the break statement. That is, we are breaking the next set of processing that is done by using the for loop. So this terminate this for loop and it prints strings are not equal. This is how we can perform the comparison. And please note, when we refer here character checking, normally here the character checking is done with respect to the character's ASCII value. Like if we are comparing with each character with respect to first string and the second string, then each of those characters ASCII value will be checked. Maybe like 92 is not equal to 96, like that. ASCII value is nothing but integer value, as we know. That is how it is going to perform the string comparison. If the ASCII value is greater, then it says the first character is greater than second. This is how it is going to perform the string comparison. Next one is a concatenation. As we know, we are combining the two strings. Obviously, we want two strings here. First, it takes string 1 and one more parameter it takes is a string 2. And here we have set with, this is mandatory step here, declaring here, which is of a data type character and it uses the string name as string 1 and the size of the string is 100. Since it does not return anything, we have mentioned it as a void. Now, what is the logic to concatenate two strings? That is, we have to reach to the end of the first string, and after that we have to start adding the second string to that. That is what we are using in this particular logic. That is, int I comma j, we are using two looping variable to process through each element present in the string. And here first we are finding the length and we are storing it in the I variable. What is length? Length is normally what is the total number of characters present minus 1 including null. That is, suppose if there is total 4 characters are present, then I will be pointing to the last character where that null will be present. That is to the final the location where that null is present. That is here the last character. Whichever the length value it is written, say for example 4 character, then 4 is the value of this I. That is, why I am using this statement, because I have to start copying the second string to the location where the first string has terminated. That's why I have used this statement to determine the end of the first string. So that with this statement, I have just repointed this I to the state where this first string has terminated. So now I is pointing to the location where the first string has terminated. In the sense, the last character, that is the length of the string. So that is how we have used this statement. Next, starting from j equal to 0, we are referring that is till the length of the second string reaches to, or the character of the second string reaches to null, we have to process. What is the step? That is, we have to keep copying second string to the first string. That is the main logic that is going to be executed. And each time I need to be incremented. Either we can write it I here itself, or even we can add I plus plus here as well. And so here each time with the j value, so I is pointed to the end of, say for example, this is a one string, and here dash a b, this is a string. Now our I is pointing to the length, so this is where the I is pointed. And next, from j equal to 0, we need to start copying the second string from here onwards. That is what we are starting with the copy process. And finally, we are appending null at the end, and finally displaying the string. If we look into the output here, this is how we have executed all the three different functions. That is string length, and then finding the length and which are stored in len1 and len2 variables, and then comparing two strings and concatenating two strings. From this is the point where these functions are called, and it is going to return the result back to here. Now if we look into the output here, first output, suppose enter the first string. Hello is the string which is printed, and one more string is also entered as a hello. So these two strings are nothing but with respect to length it is equal. So what is the length of the first string? It is 5. What is the length of the second string? 5. How it got these two statements? That is, here len1 is calculated and len2 is calculated by calling the function length and length. But strings passed are first length function is called with str1, and one more length function is called with str2. And the length of the first string is printed and second string is printed, and it displays strings are equal. This is satisfied with the very first condition. And then finally it prints the concatenated string by comparing hello and hello. As we know, in the concatenation, the contents are copied onto the string 1 and the result will be present in string 1 itself. As we see here, after copying all the characters from string 2 to string 1, the string 1 is printed as a final output along with that previous step by adding the null character to it. And then coming to the second output pattern here, first string is entered as a happy and second string entered as a days, and it first finds the length of the first and the second string, and it says by comparing each character here the strings are not equal, and finally it concatenate to function by the use of string concat function. That is, here we have defined the function as a function name as a concat. And one more kind of output here is one small change with respect to the length of the string. These two strings are equal. That is, length of the first string is 3 and the second string is also 3. Only one character is varying. That is, first it is matching. When it start comparing with the second string and the first string, with respect to second index, it found that the strings are not equal. That is, with respect to length, it is matching. First, if condition is matching, and the next it checks with second case, as we observe here. Length of string is equal to string 2. So, flag is not set with 0. So, it moves to the else part. And here it start comparing. First case it matches, but when it goes with the second characters, it is not matching. It is O and here it is U. So it says that string's flag value is reset with 0, and then it displays that if flag is equal to 0, strings are not equal. And with the concatenation function, it computes the concatenation of two strings sun and sun. This is str1 and this is str2, and display the result as sun, sun. This is how we can come across these three string functions implementation. This program I have just briefed about this. The same logic we have also discussed with example programs as well as example of iteration when we discuss it in the theory. You can refer that video as well when you go through these concatenation or comparison or finding the string length. If we look into the execution of this program, this is the same code I have written here, starting from the main header file, and this is the first function I have written. Here the function definition is not required. Function declaration is not required since I have defined the function first rather than the main function before the main. Main is at the end, so no function declaration is required. There's no harm even if we declare. Next, coming to length, we have same logic we have used what I have just now discussed, and finding the comparison here, and then finally concatenation function is written. And from the main, all these three functions are called and the value will be written back onto the main. Now, if we execute this program, first it asks for the user to enter the enter the string, and then it asks the second string. These are the statements which are executed from the main, and from the main now it calls the length function, and it finds the determines the length by using the length function, and the length value is written back onto the main, and it printed as the length of the first string is 4, and the same way second string length is also printed, and it calls the string comparison function, and it found that the strings are not equal, and it display the output. And one more is concatenation of string. These two strings are till last string, that is I is moved till 4, and after that it is going to copy the second string onto the first string. And then finally the first string will be displayed. That is what it did in the concatenation. And by adding the flag 0 at the end, which indicates the end of the string, so that we could see there is no any garbage characters. Otherwise, it will be ending up with garbage values. Now moving to any other condition, here I will be using any of the editor you can make use of to execute any of the C program. Here I am using code blocks currently. Here if I use some string as hello and I am using same string, so it printed hello and hello. Now moving to other case, that is just with the characters, let us differentiate. Enter the first string I have entered as HAIET, and the next one I mentioned as HAIET college. I cannot give the space between the two strings because I have not used getAs function. Since I have used scanf, I have to use only a single word. So I will be getting 5 and 12. Strings are not equal. Still here both the strings are equal. After that it will start comparing, but it found that it is not equal and it displayed as strings are not equal. And concatenated string is HAIET college. This is how the execution of the program is done. And coming to the algorithm and flowchart of this program, which is already available in the CPL manual. Just as in brief, algorithm starting from step 1, we start same code what it is written is just transferred with respect to the way how we are writing the algorithm. That is step 1, step 2, step 3, the same set of code and is written. This is the set of statement with respect to main function, because the function program will start execution from the main onwards. Then each function will be written. Either you can write stepwise or even you can just write the codes. And please note here we are using assignment, that is arrow operation, rather than using the equal to symbol. Here we will be beginning with if and then statements are used, and end if is used in the algorithms. And here also in the for loop, rather than putting equal to symbol, we are using arrow symbol. And this is make sure you are ending the for loop and printing all the required content what you have mentioned in the code. This algorithm writing step is very easy if you compare with the code what you have written. And the same code that we are converting it into a simple language. Now coming to the flowchart, here we have started with the start function and we need to begin from the main, read string 1 and string 2, and we are finding the length and we are storing it in the variable len1, and the second string's length is found and stored in len2. These two are the function, that's why it is represented in the function representation, and we are printing len1 and len2, and two function compare and concatenate is called by passing two arguments string 1 and string 2. Now coming to the function, each function we have to describe it with the flowchart, that is function compare, and here len1 and len2 that we are computing, and it checks whether len1 is not equal to len2. If so, strings are different, it prints. If it is false, then it goes with checking the character by character. That is, with the for loop, it start executing. If so, then the flag will be set to 0. And finally, if this condition is false, it checks with flag is double equal to 0. If so, then it prints strings are different, or else it prints strings are same. This flowchart is also very easy to write. If we have finished writing the code and just we can convert the code into a diagrammatic representation. Now coming to the concatenate function. Here it takes two arguments and then it finds the length, and it is nothing but we are referring with the variable I just to process through the end of the string. And here we are processing through the for loop with the j value equal to 0 and just copying the content of string 2 to string 1, and we are incrementing the j value and printing the string 1. And here string length is computed by using function string length. Just with the for loop we are processing with each element of the string, and then with the one simple variable count we are checking how many characters are present, nothing but how long it has executed with each indexes present in the string, and we are finally printing the length of the string. This is how we can work with the flowchart and algorithm of the program. As a conclusion remark, with this program we have implemented the string functions like finding the length of the string and concatenation of two strings and comparison of the two strings without using built-in functions which are defined in string.h header file, as well as we have implemented it by using the functions along with passing the parameters to the function. Okay. Thank you for listening.